I don't have the cool piece over the microphone like it. Yeah. I came home with it. I can just find away. Way back. I didn't know we were waiting for somebody behind me. Hello, Counselor, you're not behind you. That's me. Oh, okay. Way back. Yeah. He's got already. Yeah. Yeah. She's got to be on the horse already. It really was going to do that at about 9 o'clock. Excellent. Should we go test 1, 2, 3, test? Ready? Call the meeting to order. Item 1B, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it's not listed on the agenda, but this is now open forum. If you have anything to speak on, it doesn't have a public hearing. This is the time to do it. There are no public hearings on the budgets tonight, so this would be the time to speak on those.
Bill?
I handed out before the meeting to the counselors a sample of Holton's valuation cards, property cards. Because I got a thing in the, I think Kathy sent them out. That your reevaluating Lincoln has started and there are 20 people that are going to be going around. I would hope when they finish that our property cards would look somewhere like this so that we could tell how we were being evaluated. It also might help bring up some of our, I don't know that that's a good word, bring up some of the evaluations to where they need to be. I think I've spoken up on how I feel about the ambulance and the police department. I think most of you are probably aware we had a near kidnapping in Bangor today. It's coming closer all the time. I'm a little old to start punching people out. So I do appreciate our police department as well as our ambulance service. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm David Moyson, a Lincoln resident. And again, the views expressed from mine are mine alone. I'm here to provide information and insights that the Chief Brown was not prepared to present during your meeting a week ago. But before I do that, little survey of the council. How many of you are willing to settle for a much worse deal for Lincoln taxpayers than Penobscot has made with taxpayers in other communities? Nobody? That's encouraging. And also encouraging is the fact that a week ago, you had the good sense to wait on Penobscot County's offer for providing essentially EMS services to T2 R8 and T2 R9. This is the contract or deal that Penobscot County made with East Millinocket a year ago to provide EMS services to nearby unorganized territories. The deal a year ago is $26,700. According to NPR, those unorganized territories typically get 10 EMS runs a year. 10. During 2025, Lincoln made 5 times that many runs to T2 R8 and T2 R9. 5 times. In a few minutes, I'll give you the runs. That's based on actual run data. 5 times $26,700 is what? Pretty close to $135,000. $135,000. The deal Penobscot County offered us is $2,000. The $2,000 barely covers one run to I-95 between the Lincoln exit and the next exit north. That's our territory base. Barely covers one run. That means Lincoln taxpayers have to pay all the costs of the rest of the 50 runs. That is poor treatment of Lincoln's taxpayers. I'll give you another stake in the ground to negotiate towards, and that's the total cost of serving that area. That's on the order of $90,000 in the pending fiscal year. So I think that we should negotiate, or we should counter with offers of between $90,000 and roughly $140,000. And if Penobscot County won't pay us that, they should make other arrangements. By holding Penobscot County's feet to the fire, you're going to help Central Highland, and you're going to help other firehouses and EMS services that cover I-95 from Kittery Bridge all the way to the northern terminus. This is a big issue for those firehouses because they're paying most or all of the costs, and their communities in many cases cannot bear those costs. Few comments about the Drew contract. This is what, the 4th year that Drew is getting EMS services from Lincoln. That makes them a regular part of our service area. To treat our taxpayers fairly, Drew should pay the same fee for the same service as our taxpayers. EMS service alone, somewhere around $350 per head. That's your buy-in fee, your annual subscription, whatever you want to call it. About $350 a head. That's twice what we were offered, $155. Now, it was misrepresented to you that the working group on their master agreement endorsed that $155 per capita charge. That's wrong. The EMS contracts with Drew, Reed, McClock, and other district communities are outside the working group's mandate. We are tasked with improving the terms for the deal with Chester and with Wynn. We calculate those fees. We are a taker of fees offered by Penobscot County. I said before in front of y'all that the discussions during the initial working group meeting were hurried and ill-considered. The people who advocated for the $155 fee should have provided all of us with a contract. If they had done that, the people sitting in that meeting would have realized there are two components to those deals. One is per capita fee, and the other is a $300 fee for non-transports. Simple logic. If we're going to boost the per capita fee by 60%, we should boost the non-transport fee by a similar amount. So that should be $480. And because the deal that was agreed to last week is a really bad deal for Lincoln taxpayers, you are urged to rescind that agreement and negotiate for better terms. Thank you.
My name is Kelsey Perry. I'm a Lincoln resident. I am honored to say that I am an EMT and a firefighter for Lincoln Fire. I am a track coach at Mananock Academy, the daughter of small business owners, but most importantly, I come to you today as a mom of two beautiful girls. If you have opened any news source recently in the last 5 years, you have probably seen an article or 2 or 12 about labor and delivery units closing across the state of Maine. Yes, 12 labor and delivery units have closed across the state of Maine. The closest labor and delivery unit to Lincoln is 45 minutes away. Some of the places that we have to go in the ambulance, like Reed Plantation or in Chester, can take us 30 to 45 minutes just to get to PVH. That's almost 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to a labor and delivery unit. Babies don't wait 45 minutes. Babies don't wait an hour. Babies don't even wait 5 minutes sometimes. EMTs, advanced EMTs, and paramedics are trained to deliver babies in the back of ambulances, on the side of roads, in homes, and pretty much anywhere that is not a fully equipped hospital. Another point I'd like to make is, why would a young family want to stay in this town when you're talking about cutting services that make this town safe and are trying to cut the only things to do for children to do in this town? What do kids in a small town do when there's nothing to do? Drugs, crime, working at the high school. I see it a lot. Who is going to Narcan, treat, help, or advocate for the youth when that inevitably happens when you cut the rec in the library? Not EMS, not fire, not law enforcement, because theoretically you would like to cut those as well. And I know what you're thinking, the public can just Narcan people, right? Wrong. There are people in this town, even businesses that carry Narcan that are too scared to use it. They do not think that they would be able to if the time arose. Also, can the public place an advanced airway when they stop breathing? Nope, they can't. I appreciate those of you that are diligently working to increase the revenue in this town and are looking for other places to make cuts. As for the rest of you, it is extremely embarrassing being a Lincoln resident right now. One day, your family member or yourself might need some of this services. And I hope to God we have enough staffing and resources to get you the help that you need. Thank you for your time.
Hey, I'm Dr. Millian. I live in Lincoln. I just came back from vacation and became aware of what's going on. I just have some questions. Move to approve the budget for the police, $1,757,000. What was it last year? Simple question. I just don't know what's going on. Maybe others don't as well. So there wasn't an increase.
Yeah.
And for the fire and EMS?
Not what will be an increase if we pass.
Okay, so explain to me what's going on with cuts to the police department, fire department and EMS in layman's talk, so I can make an informed decision. I'm sorry, but I'd like to be informed, but I came late. I just like to know what's going on. Can somebody address it?
I'm going to address
Point
it.
of order, Mr. Chair. This is open forum. This is an opportunity for residents to make a statement, not to address the person making the statement.
Oh, so I can't ask a question, I just have to make a statement.
I'm Stacy Williams. I'm a Lincoln resident. When will we get answers to the questions we have come up and asked you repeatedly? When is that day gonna occur?
Anybody else on this side? Good.
Questions regarding the budget that's on the agenda? Is that the town manager's budget proposal? And does that include the information that you voted on at the last meeting regarding approving the airport grant that was introduced? Does that include the expense side and the revenue side of the airport grant? And I guess it really doesn't matter what budget you approve tonight, because at the first meeting in July, you're going to vote or not to approve over expenditures in each of the department budgets. So I beg to differ that you're going to hold anybody accountable for this budget that you approved tonight. You never have in the past, and you probably won't in the future. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? This side?
Dean Barker. I have researched a generic timeline for a zero-based budget, which I gave all of you and put in front of you. I find it very interesting, as I'm hoping you do. That's just a sample. As I said before, a zero-based budget takes years to perfect. And I want to thank Councilor Street for his research of programs to help seniors struggling with their finances. I hope you all are reaching out to your constituents and let them know that there is this help. Tonight, we gather once again after many hours of budget deliberations, meetings, and public hearings, following the town charter guidelines to develop a zero-based budget for fiscal year 2027 as requested on January 12, 2026. The department heads, as well as two managers, did the best they knew how with no guidance or training. I urge you to approve the current proposed budget, knowing all the glitches need to be refined for the fiscal year 2028 budget. Also keeping in mind that to cut services in a rural setting is not the answer. We live in a different economic setting than 2021. It's frustrating for all of us, especially municipalities, when preparing those budgets. But we know that economic development is going to be a huge plus for Lincoln. One business, if not more, will follow to strengthen our tax base. We heard last week Councillor Ireland claim that the council had not been provided the zero-based budget, which is false. In the minutes of May 26th, Town Council Budget Workshop, item number 2, the town clerk states, and I quote, "Clerk starts at 0 and works up from there based on needs for the upcoming fiscal year, based on the sizes of elections, training needs, advertising, etc. She has not found a place to cut, as this was minimum budget accounting for cost increase over the past year," end quote. Councillor Ireland proceeded to read his unvetted budget proposal that reverts back to 2021. As I looked at his proposal, I didn't see any line by line calculations, just two separate sets of numbers. This led me to do more research to determine exactly what he was proposing. I found his proposal is called incremental budgeting, not zero-based. I also found it is not legal. A municipality cannot revert back to a budget from 5 years ago to create a zero-based budget. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else on this side? Council? You're gonna want one of those anyway. You don't have to have that now. I decided to speak today as I know I'm on the council, so a resident. And I'm also a clinical psychologist. And during this budget process, I have repeatedly heard the words "I think" and "I feel" in reference to financial opinions. And I found this frustrating because I was trained not just to be a therapist, but also to be a scientist and a data manager. In fact, I got my first postdoctoral job, not as a clinician, but as a data analyst, as an expert in research design and statistics. So I decided I was going to put those skills to work over the past few weeks and came up with this presentation, which is my brief analysis of 4 different budget proposals that are before the council tonight. So where did these 4 proposals come from? Well, only one of them is the official proposal tonight, and that's the one that's on the agenda. That's the one that was pulled together by our interim town manager, Wade Schaefer. I should remind you that Wade was not unanimously hired, but he was hired with 4 votes from you 4 councilmen, Hannington, Ireland, Rand, and Rojo. And so you have been campaigning for cutting the budget 10%, if not more. And I kind of implore you to notice that the person you hired ended up coming up with the most expensive budget of the four proposals, increasing spending by 2.1%. And that's after he's talked with everybody and gotten more data than probably any of the rest of us. The second budget I want to talk about, or proposal, is the one from the Budget Committee. The majority of that committee, 8 members, were selected by the same 4 council members. And the committee proposal does call for a reduction in spending of 2.2%. That's well short of the 10% reduction. And that's, again, that's the Budget Committee. They have went in, and I saw the Budget Committee at work a number of times, and I think they did a rather admirable job of trying to figure out how to cut the budget, and that's the best that they could do. There we go. Councilor Kathy Moisen came up with the next proposal, and that is to freeze spending at last year's level, a 0% increase, falling about halfway between those 2 other budgets. Okay, and finally, we have Councilor David Ireland's budget. He started his by developing his proposal by starting with not last year's budget, but with one from 5 years ago, the fiscal 2021 budget. And then he added roughly 34%, and I say roughly 34%. What he said was the cumulative inflation rate across those 5 years. We'll get back to that. To come up with his proposal, which would reduce spending by 12.4%. That's the most drastic of the 4 proposals. So that one went 2.4% further than the 10% you were shooting for. And I would like you to all consider that gives us some wiggle room in trying to adjust the budget numbers as we go. I am concerned that none of these budgets keep up with inflation. That may be a good thing in some ways, but we'll take a look at some of the other stuff. Prices in Maine have been rising faster than the national average. The Maine's overall inflation rate for 2025 was 3.2%. Maine's inflation rate for the past 5 years averaged about 4.5%. And more recently, over the past 12 months, Maine's grocery price index is up about 5.1%. Now, of course, Lincoln's departments don't run on groceries. Okay, they run more on personnel and on energy, a lot of energy. Okay, so that includes things like patrol cars, fire engines, ambulances, dump trucks, and also in the offices, lights, computers, heating, air conditioning. And energy prices have been rising much faster than the overall inflation rate. So what we've got is in the Northeast, energy prices are up 26.5% in the past year. Gasoline prices, accounting for the vast majority of that, they're up in particular about almost 45%. So I want to go back and let's take a look at each one of these other budget proposals briefly. Let's start with examining the one that Councilor Ireland proposes, which is the fiscal year 2021 plus 34% proposal. And let me explain why I said he increased roughly 34%. You see, he applied 34% increase to only 5 of the 20 departments. For the other 15, he made adjustments that I'm sure make sense to you, but to me appear arbitrary. And here's why. Because they produce widely different increased percentages. That chart over there on the right shows what the range is, okay? And so it started off with a low of 24.4% for the Economic Development Department, up to a whopping 263% for the fire station budget. And I want to clarify that the fire station budget is not the same thing as the fire EMS department budget. This is specifically the budget for the building, for the maintenance and other costs of that building. Okay. Furthermore, the overall increase of his budget does not come out to 34%. It comes out to 50.4%, more than 50% after all those adjustments. And keep in mind that these increases to the 2021 budget end up being decreases compared to last year's budget. For an example, let's take a look at the impact of Ireland's proposed budget on the fire EMS line. Okay. Ireland's proposal would take last year's budget and cut it $392,000, almost 20%. Since about 80% of the fire EMS budget is payroll, that means employees. If the council approved Ireland's fire EMS proposal, the department staff have warned me that we could expect a loss of 4 to 5 employees, which would, in other words, go down from 20 per fire EMS personnel to 15 or 16, which would be a reduction of from 5 to 4 per shift. Now, some have said, well, maybe we can absorb that. But keep in mind that Lincoln Fire Department also serves Wynn and Chester with contracts. We just talked about that a moment ago. What would happen if those towns decided that Lincoln could no longer adequately provide the fire and EMS services for their residents and canceled those contracts? Well, that would cost Lincoln another $367,000 in contract revenue, not to mention about $40,000 in EMS billing revenue. Remember that the EMS department, part of the department, actually brings money into the town as long as we have enough people out there to go and make runs. Anyway, this would potentially force layoff of another 4 to 5 full-time staff, leaving about 2.5 to 3 personnel per shift, effectively cutting Lincoln's fire EMS coverage almost in half. Now, my wife pointed out to me that if you want to keep it at full staffing, you could do that, but you would have to choose. Do you want to have full staffing during the day, or do you want to have full staffing overnight? I think we probably want both. The department staff have also told me with this staffing this small, they may not be able to enter burning buildings anymore unless there are confirmed reports of victims being trapped, and then lacking backup, it would be a much riskier thing. One more thing is that cuts that deep could lead to additional costs to what is called layoff impact bargain. You see, employers are legally required to negotiate with unions for things like severance packages and pay increases when layoffs this severe happen. Now I'm going to take a look at the other 3 fire EMS proposals together, because while they're all quite different from Ireland's proposal, they are really quite similar to each other. All 3 provide more than $250,000 more than Ireland's proposal. All 3 propose expenses of at least $2 million, and all 3 are based on a review of recent data, not extrapolating from fiscal year 2021. So, based on this analysis for this particular department, I support Councilor Moissan's proposal when it comes to the EMS fire department. Freeze the budget, keep it at last year's level. Okay. I do not agree with Moissan's proposal for all 20 departments. I do agree for most of them, but I want to take a look at one where I don't. The police department, which has quite a different situation. While the fire EMS department had stable leadership and adequate funding and staffing for several years, our police department spent a period of time almost leaderless, understaffed, and technologically antiquated. We went 2 years with only an acting police chief, Mark Leonard, who really did a remarkably good job considering that he was only coming up here from VZ once a week. But there's only so much you can do if you're only able to be here once a week to try to, I mean, what he was basically doing is trying to keep the department from becoming a lot worse. So it took us about to find a full-time police chief, Lee Miller. It took us 2 years, and then when he's been on for about 18 months. He seems to be a really good one. He's dedicated to improving the previously poorly functioning department. He is, under his leadership, the department has increased wages, has gotten better officers and trained them better. Has added equipment such as body cameras, modernized software. But for a police force for our size, our police department remains undersized. So we want to keep in mind that cutting our police force would be taking it below when it's already below, down when it's already below. So based on FBI data, says that the average for a town our size is to have 3.9 officers per 1,000 residents. For example, for a comparison, Hollis has right around the same number. It has 18 sworn personnel. You can find quite a range. So Dover Foxcroft with 4,500 residents has only 12. So there is a range to it, but we don't want to cut back all the way to 3, 4, or 5 officers. Okay. Oops. Now I got to go back. Here we go. All right. So the Lincoln Police Department has been budgeting for only 13 positions, not 19. Okay. So it's already been that we are budgeting for less than what would be the average for the northeastern towns our size. And while the town manager's budget would maintain that number, 13, Ireland's proposal would cut more than $500,000 from the budget, from last year's budget. And that, I've been told, could force 8 to 10 officer reduction. That's based on the idea that a salary for a police officer is about $60,000 to $65,000. You divide that out, it comes out to about 8 to 10 officers. That's why I'm saying it could lead to us having 3, 4, or 5 officers instead of the target, which we're going for 13. Moissan's proposal would cut $250,000 almost, and that would be much better. We would still probably lose 1, if not 2 police officers under that budget. But I thought that the budget committee proposal was very interesting because they reviewed the data in great detail. There were a lot of conversations back and forth with the police chief and with other people, and their budget proposal was only $3,000 different from the town managers. Those two, the people who have looked at the budget officially the most closely, came out with pretty close to the same number. So what I'm suggesting is we kind of tweak Councilor Moissan's proposal, okay? Her proposal is to, here we go, okay, to continue funding the departments as if at the same level they were last year. No increase in expenses, and to establish a hiring freeze. There are, however, 5 departments where I don't think that we can do that, where we must increase expenses a little bit. Some cases, maybe a lot. One is the police department for the reasons that I just went over. Another is assessing department and the finance department. Neither one of those departments has a director. There's no assessor, there's no treasurer right now. And so we're either going to have to go out and find somebody and hire them, which means we're going to have to negotiate a salary, or we're going to have to contract those services out. Both of those things are going to cost more than what we paid last year for these 2 departments. Personnel. The salary increase of 3% have already been agreed to, and so we're going to see an increase in what we're going to have to pay out. And so if we just go with Moissan's budget, we're going to have to let go some of the probably at least one person from the town office staff. And utilities. So natural gas and electricity costs are up about 3%, certainly nowhere near as bad as gasoline, but we know that that is going to need a slight increase, 3%, something like that, over last year's budget. The other thing is that we've got to allow hiring for the police, finance, and assessing departments. We don't have an assessor, we don't have a treasurer, and the police department currently is short on staff. So we need to at least allow exceptions for those. And we've got to, this is the thing I don't like, is that really don't like, is that we're going to have to reduce the capital improvements that are in the budget to offset those increases. If we're going to have a chance of keeping the budget down so that it's not an increase, we're going to have to give in somewhere. We ended up proposing $175,000 to go to try to pay for a future fire engine. I think we're going to have to back that back to 125,000 so that we have money to pay for the rest. I actually haven't run those numbers yet, so I don't know what the exact number is. But in any case, I think that if we make those changes, we can maintain a zero increase from last year to next year, or this year to next year, which is consistent with Councilor Moison's goal. And I think compared to what we've had for inflation, 0% is an incredible achievement. And it strikes a balance between providing services and keeping taxes down. Now, if you think that we need to cut further, then I'll argue against it for a number of reasons, but the thing that I really think that we want to be careful of is to make sure that for the police and fire department budgets, we pay attention to the fact that the fire department budget, if we cut it enough, we're going to cut off our nose to spite our face, because we're going to actually lose money that we would be able to take in because of that. And in the police department budget, we have to be very careful, because we could lose staff that are, we just got a bunch of new people on there. If we lose those people, we'll effectively have lost that training. And I really don't want us to lose our police chief. I think that he has done a really good job. And think about how hard it was to get a police chief to come here in the first place. If we were to lose him, that would be that would make it even harder for us to hire again. Thank you.
The only thing I would like to clarify is that my proposal was not to match last year's budget.
Oh.
My proposal was to accept the budget presented by the manager and have the hiring freeze with the asterisks on the departments you pointed out, just to be clear what I propose.
My mistake. I like yours better, but
That's,
Mr. Chairman?
Yep. Well, I'm gonna give.
Okay.
For Lee, anything? No? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna go against my wife tonight, but our main obligation is to the taxpayers of Lincoln. I feel for the outlying towns. I come from a small municipality, Reed Plantation, but our main objective is to provide for the taxpayers of Lincoln. And that said, if we would not sign the contracts for the outlying towns for a minuscule amount of revenue, we wouldn't have needed a third ambulance. I look around, we're probably sitting on $600,000-700,000 worth of unused equipment day to day. We're sitting on 3 to 4 police cruisers over there. I can remember when I first was on the council, Mr. Chairman, we had 5 officers. Then Chief Dan Summers was part-time chief, part-time fire, part-time safety. And we then voted to buy 2 used SUVs. We also voted to hire 2 new officers because it was said that we wouldn't have to have overtime. I don't care if we add 6 more officers, 6 more EMTs. By doing that, by expanding government, you're gonna have to hire someone else to cover the vacations, cover the sick time. So it's always a snowball effect. And to be honest with you, since I moved to Lincoln 20 years ago, if we would have compounded the budget 5% each and every year, the actual true budget would probably be down around $8.2 million. And I'm going to advocate next year, we may have to even look at it even more, because the Faye Broderick's, the Representative Giffords, the B. Wallace's that are living on a fixed income, it don't set well with me to think that we're squeezing them to the point where 1.25% of the people in Lincoln that are employed here by us that are making double and triple the income of the average citizen. I have a good friend of mine that works 60 hours a week at a 3 convenience stores, just trying to put food on the table. So I am very sympathetic to those, because like I said before, I could set out on the Enfield Road and I could let my taxes go to $10,000. But that'd be irresponsible for me as a citizen of this and also as a town council. And I would like to also rebut the fact that I made the motion to hire the last 2 chairs. And it's been almost a slap in the face to think that I'm one of the 4. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people, and if we want to really, truly fix the problems in this state and in this town, we ought to elect the right people. And so we don't have a school budget that is out of reach, that we have to suck more money out of the taxpayers, and that we have to suck more money out of the taxpayers to offset the monies that's not paid from the state to the county jail. So to me, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we're doing enough, but I'm sympathetic. But then again, at the end of the day, we have to be fiscally conservative and prudent with all the money spent. And I just wish that we're not in this situation, but we are, because of whatever happened in the past. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think it's very important that everybody sees and understands that what we're trying to do is fix the mistakes of several town councils for many years, who allowed the previous town manager to run things on his own, spend like crazy. There was no control. All the budgets were passed. There was no control. And I will take exception to my good friend, Councilor, about the police statistics. The FBI statistics you mentioned, and I've been involved in this for many years, are for towns with high crime rate. The standard is 1.2 police officers per 1,000 population, 2.2 with low, and then 3.2 for high crime. So depending on how we see the high crime, it depends what the ratio is for police officers. And furthermore, one thing this town has never had is an organization of employees. We do not have an organizational diagram that outlines the personnel for each department, what their position is, what their required training or experience, because many times experience can trump training. And at that point, what are we paying to train? We keep on paying wonderful to train a lot of people, but we don't know whether the positions really require that extra training we're paying for or not. So there are a lot of things we need to reel in order to precisely protect the people of Lincoln that cannot afford to live in Lincoln. There are many people who live very well with plenty of disposable income to whom this is not affected.
Can I respond? Yeah, but we're not gonna get to a big back and forth. Just, I would like to know where you got your data. I have the UCR report from the FBI up here, and it has nothing to do, it's just totally by size. And it says that the national average was 4.2, but the Northeast average was 3.9 for communities of 10,000 population or less.
That is address the level of violence or non-violence.
Does not, it is,
That's one of the factors that comes from the Department of Justice. So
and
anyway, we can discuss that later. We're not going to resolve it tonight.
anybody else? Anything else to open forum? No? Move on. Item 2, approval of. Okay,
I'm a resident here. My name is Carrie Kurth. I am also a 12-year veteran for law enforcement. I'm up here to speak not about law enforcement side of it. I'm here to speak on the EMS side of it and the fire department. I've done rural patrol for 12 years. And I think I know what I'm talking about. So bear that in mind. I'm trying to collect my thoughts really quick because it's a little frustrating, especially watching you on your phone the whole time while he's explaining stuff. I feel like that's something that you need to pay attention to if you're going to be open and in this discussion. So that being said,
It's a calculator as well.
okay. So that being said, I feel that these decisions that you guys have made have not been based on full education. I haven't had any of you ride in my cruiser with me to understand what it's like to go on a call way out in rural Maine and have EMS need to be there. And that's unfortunate that you haven't made that choice to go with us, because I have worked not only with educated and very disciplined firefighters on scenes, I've also worked with volunteers, and working with volunteer, not to diminish their capability, but they are not on the same level as the fire department that works hard and is educated and has that experience. And I've been on those scenes where I've watched a volunteer firefighter almost drop a guy in a stretcher. And I've also worked with these guys on a scene where things were absolutely insane and they handled it very professionally. And I think it's very unfortunate that the first decision is to cut their budget and to cut them rather than look for some other ways for this town to make money. This town is a gold mine. This town is a tourist trap, and we're not taking advantage of that. We are in a location that there are so many people coming to this town, and we don't have great stores for them to go to. We don't have, like, we look pathetic. And it's because we're not utilizing our location. And I think what we can do is we can emulate a town that is like the bigger towns like Kennebunkport or Kennebunk. They don't have as many issues as we do. Granted, they're closer to the Massachusetts border, but at the same time, we have Baxter, and we can show ourselves as this great location where we have these lakes, and all we say is we have these lakes. I go all around the state and I tell people I live in Lincoln, and they're like, where's that? Is that just way up in a roof stick? Nobody has any idea where Lincoln is. And I think that is something that is underutilized for this town. It is, like I said, a gold mine. And so I think what we need to do, rather than start cutting away on people, and I get it that the budget was overspent. I agree that there was a whole bunch of stupid things that were purchased and done in the years that I've been living here. But that being said, cutting EMS and the fire department is going to hurt. It's going to hurt this town in the long run. I think there are other ways that we can figure out ways to make money, and we look at those options and work on those things. So that is it. That's all I have to say.
thank you. Okay. Well, now we'll close open forum. Oh, you did? No, okay. Item 2, approval of fiscal year 2027 department budgets. Suggested motion move to approve the town manager budget in the amount of $204,587.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to,
Motion's already been made.
I'd like to make a motion to amend.
You want to amend your motion? She does not want to amend her motion.
I move I move to amend the motion. To
The only
straight,
person that can amend the motion. The only person that can amend the motion is the person that made the motion, correct?
I don't think so. No. Any member
Is
of the
this on?
council can do that. I think it's on. Yeah, I think it's working.
It wasn't all. Is that better?
You have to talk to them, you have to keep it up close to your mouth in order for it to pick up.
Is that better? No? How about now? Okay. And are you looking that up? Sure. Here, I found it. Okay. According to Robert Rules of Order, any voting member can propose an amendment to a pending motion. This includes the person who originally made the motion. So he is okay, allowed to. What's your amendment?
My amendment would be to strike the 204,587 and insert 185,000.
I second that motion.
Okay, the motion's been amended down to 185,000. Discussion?
That is, I just want to point out, I put on the thing I gave you, that you can look on the back, there's a spreadsheet in there, so you can follow this. But that would be a decrease from the current year budget of 29.4%. And I think that's a pretty drastic cut. As it is, I think the 204,587 does not include enough if we were to lose our town manager, because he's agreed to work for $70,000. I don't think we can get another town manager for that much. So I think that we really ought to have it larger than 204,587. But I am willing to settle for the 204,587 and count on our town manager not to leave us.
Any other discussion? No, this is council discussion.
Can I just respond to what Council Street said real quick? I would highly recommend that whatever you pass as a budget to come in, to include whatever you would normally pay a town manager, just in case. Not for me down the road, but just in case you are looking for the town manager, you want to make sure the money is budgeted for whatever you want to pay the individual that's coming in.
When you, can you go to the
Oh,
microphone?
I'm sorry. Usually I'm loud enough, I'm sorry. I would recommend that you pass the budget for the manager's one in the anticipation of looking for the manager down the road. I'm not saying that I want to leave, but I do have other responsibilities that I really enjoy doing. And as much as I like this, I enjoy the people I work with in this so far. But it is not the calling that God has on my life, so I would encourage you to think about that as you're working on this budget.
So we have a motion for 185,000.
Mhm.
All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion, move to approve the town clerk budget in the amount of 260,648. So moved.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I move to amend the motion. Striking the 200 and.
Speak up, Dave.
That is.
Right, please.
All right.
260,648, replace that with 250,000.
I'll second that motion.
So now we have an amended amount of 250,000. Discussion? I recognize that's only 1% decrease from the manager's request. But I am concerned that that the clerk's office, I think, is running a pretty tight ship. I'd be interested in knowing what whether that would require a loss of any personnel. Yes.
So honestly, the other day, I crunched numbers 2 to 3 different ways to see where I could cut the $10,000 if that's leaving me short. And bringing lines down to pretty much 0. And not cutting out anything that would be in town, a whole town budget, budgeted items that's in my budget, such as the municipal association's annual dues for the whole town. And for items that are for the council, because I am the secretary to the council. I got myself down to within $3,000 and I still can't find $3,000. Because I'm trying very hard not to cut staff. The reason I have the staffing I do, and one of those people, even though she's a full-time employee, is actually only mine for 32 hours a week. She helps Public Works out. And one thing I forgot to mention when I emailed the council today, what that would do is I might have to use her full-time at my office, and then Public Works and Transfer Station will lose the person that they have doing their payroll and purchase orders for. Going down to 3 full-timers and possibly a part-timer, if I couldn't keep a full-time staff member, puts us back into a position where we didn't have the people to, as a lot of you have already mentioned, trying to cover things like vacations that everybody has earned, sick time and things like that, puts us at what we call like an emergency mode all the time. People aren't going to get work done, and I showed you today in writing what some of the other effects of that would be. Cutting the hours of the town office, open hours to the public, so that we can take time away from customers at the counter to get work done if the worst case scenario happens and I do lose a person. Cutting the tax club that a lot of people have joined to make it easier on them to pay their taxes. That might have to be cut because it's a very labor intensive program that is being run through my department.
Yeah, thank you, Ann.
Can I ask the clerk a question?
Yes.
I want to thank you, Ann, for everything that you do in your department. And I just stated earlier that we need to take care of the taxpayers of Lincoln first. How many thousands of dollars a year do we use up in our resources as taxpayers to allow non-citizens from our town to come in and register the vehicles, register the votes, and that? I mean, to me, we're providing a service, but are we providing a service that is the revenue actually offsetting the wages that we're spending by the taxpayers? Would that be a savings if we can do that? And are we obligated to? If there's any state statute say that we're obligated to let someone to replant their vehicle, or when, because they have offices in Lincoln?
So there are some transactions that can be done in the town of Lincoln if you live in another town. But if it involves excise tax, they can't come to Lincoln. They can start in their town and pay their excise and then come and finish the registration with us in Lincoln, which takes our time. I can't give you I don't know the numbers, but what I can tell you, and I brought this up, I believe maybe during budget committee, that something that never seemed correct to me, but yet it remains the way it is. A lot of the revenues for things that we do at the front office are in the finance budget. So in my opinion, if you were to take those revenues that are listed in the finance department, but yet it's my employees that are actually providing those services, it covers most of my budget that's out there. Why they're in the finance budget, I'm not really sure. Only some of the clerk type things are in the clerk's budget for revenue. I mean, we do make money, but I mean, it's $1 to $5 at a time doing that.
Gordon? You brought up the idea that, oh, thank you.
that you got is close to saying it's $3,000 off. And that would be very tight. What if it was a bit more than what David has just proposed? What if it was 255,000? That would give you like a $2,000 cushion. It's not much. Would that be a reasonable compromise?
I might be able to find creative ways to do that.
So David, I'd be interested to know if that was something you would consider.
I've already put my amendment on the table.
Okay, any other discussion? Motion is for 250,000. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion move to approve the finance budget in the amount of $450,382.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I move to amend this motion by striking $450,382 and replacing it with $368,500.
I second that motion.
We have an amended motion to 368,500. Discussion?
That's a really dramatic cut. That's 15%. And at a time when we are trying to find a new treasurer, I think that there would be a huge mistake to make that kind of a cut. As it is, we need to be able to have a reasonable cushion to be able to hire a new treasurer. And or get a company to outsource to our treasurer's duty temporarily while we're doing. I don't see how we're going to do that with that small amount of money.
Chairman, may I respond? I do know every other off year, and Representative Gifford can also chime in on this. There's such a thing as a supplemental budget that the legislature passes or fails. And the governor brings that forth as a shortfall. So even though we make these cuts right now, I'm sure within the next 30 days, we can come to the table and say, well, we need to be fiscally conservative on some of these little areas. And I think that's something that probably we can do as a council, because we do it as a state, we do it as a federal government. It is called a supplemental budget. So coming out of this, even though we're shaving $1 million, we could also come back and say, we need an X amount of dollars for this, or an X amount of dollars for that. That's our job as a council to do that. It's probably never been done, but I'm sure that it can.
Where would that money come from, since it's not included in the tax bill?
Well, it's something, Mr. Chairman, that we're really gonna have to be, put our nose to the grindstone and say, look, let's find it, because when you have a department head that says that one thing, I can't save 10%, but 2 weeks later, they spend that 10%. So there's always money under a rock. And that's.
Okay. Gordon?
I have a lot of rocks in my yard. I don't think there's any money under any of them. And I keep hearing, I'm sure that, without having an explanation about how we're going to do it. It seems to me that one of the things we have as a problem here is that you are comparing how the legislature does something to how we as a town are allowed to do something. I don't see that we have any authority to go back and change how much we tax people or change what the after the tax is set. That's what we're stuck with for the year. If I may, Mr. Chairman. We go back and we readjust the mill rate because it's been a mistake at different periods in time. So isn't that a sense of generating a different revenue by changing the mill rate from 6 months or 2 months or whatever down the road? So I'm just saying that we can be smart. And at the end of the day, we have added probably 20 positions plus since Mr. Bronson was hired. And we've got a right-sized government, because if we don't, people are gonna continue to leave. And people are starving as it is right now, working 60, 70 hours a week, trying to make ends meet. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. And I fought that from day one since I first got elected, you know, several years back, you know.
If I may, I know of people in this room who have made the decision to leave because of what is happening with this council trying to cut service. There are quite a number of people who are getting fed up with this and thinking we'd be better off trying to live somewhere else. I don't want that to be our future. I want this to be a growing town.
I understand that, Councilor Street. And Mr. Chairman, if the four of us got done tonight, this problem is still gonna be here. It does not matter who's setting up here. This problem is gonna continue to fester. And I would resign tonight if that wasn't the case.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for 368,500 for the finance budget. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion, move to approve the assessing budget in the amount of $75,325.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I move to amend this motion. Striking these. 75,325 and replacing it with 10,000.
He said replace it with 10,000.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made and seconded for 10,000. Discussion.
That is significantly below the 34% that you were talking about. You had in your proposal came out with 75,325. And we do not have an assessor right now. We do not have a company to do assessing. And if you don't have assessing, how are you going to actually complete the process of billing people for their property taxes and actually get money in to cover this budget?
We do have, the town manager does have quotes from assessing fund that several months down the road, we will be probably funding that as the town council.
At $10,000?
10,000 would be for what it's gonna cost us between now and then.
So what? Okay. So the motion is for 10,000. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggest a motion move to approve the code enforcement budget in the amount of $75,112.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
No discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Suggest a motion move to approve the police department budget in the amount of $1,757,143.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer motion to amend, striking out 1.757,143, replacing it with 1.230210.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for $1,230,210. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I think probably you'll remember. Back when I had Sheriff Thornton up here, and we was talking about. At that time, maybe contracting with the sheriff department. And I believe our budget was around $8 million. And he said that it would be like 1.1 to offer 24 two men, two officers. I think this department has grown exponentially. We have cruisers not being used. And regardless what we pass, it's up to the department heads to run that department on what we pass. And it might be wage cuts if they don't want to lay off. It might be not buying an extra cruiser that they really don't need. It might not, it might be something, but you have to be responsible as a manager to do your due diligence, because no private business in this town is operating on 70–80% payroll. None.
Gordon? This is a service industry that the town is. We are personnel heavy. And we are also equipment that uses up gasoline heavy. And what I had said when I made this presentation a little while ago is that is likely to be cutting us down to by 8 to 10 officers, leaving us with somewhere between 3 and 5 officers. I do not believe that the sheriff's department is going to be able to come in and adequately police us when they are covering the entire county. This is their job is not supposed to be Lincoln. We are supposed to be covering it ourselves. And that's significantly below what it ought to be. At the very least, we ought to be able to take it to Kathy Moisen's budget proposal, which was for $1,522,479. That would keep us from losing more than 1 or 2 police officers. And I would recommend that we consider changing that. Or am I allowed to make a motion to amend an amendment? Okay, I don't think so. So I could plead with Councilor Ireland to consider going with Moisen's budget of, or not, sorry, not with the current year budget of $1,522,479 and not cut as drastically as what you're talking about. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion move to approve the fire and EMA department budget in the amount of $2,093,854.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I submit a motion to amend, striking the 2,093,584 and replacing that with 1,670,247.
I'll second that motion.
So the amount has been amended to 1,672,46. Is that correct? Okay. Discussion?
Chairman. Like I said earlier, we have a responsibility to the taxpayers of Lincoln. And seems to be a big cut, but we're only collecting 40% on every dollar bill. That isn't smart. I also heard while I was gone last week, I was still in Phoenix trying to get here, that it was stated that the hospital, and we need these services. We think back prior, there's probably a fiscal reason why the hospital got rid of their team, because they wasn't being fiscally responsible running them. So to me, we have a service. I think if we didn't go to the outlying towns, I think we could probably do it for 2 ambulances. But like I said, this is the chief's responsibility to run his office at a fiscal manner based on what we have tonight. It might mean not getting an airflow system that's $60,000+, or new overhead doors in the fire department where we can repair them. So there's ways that they could operate in a manner within the parameters that we passed tonight, not just continue to raise for the sake of doing it. So that's the reason why I second the motion.
I have been informed that I am allowed to amend an amendment, so I'm going to make an amendment. I make a motion that we amend to go with the current year budget of $2,087,808.
I think that was under my thought.
So 2,087,808. That's it. Is there a second on that?
Yes, not.
Okay, so we're back to the 1,670,246. Any other discussion?
I just want to say, Councilor Street, you're right. You can amend an amendment.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
This is,
Oh, this is on board to
amendment.
No,
no.
no.
No, that failed.
Oh, okay.
Didn't get seconded. Don't you stop my vote count again. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion move to approve the fire station budget in the amount of 84,700.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I make an amendment, a motion to amend and place C 84,715.
Say the number again, I'm sorry.
15,000.
For the fire station, 15,000?
That's for the building.
Second that motion.
Make sure I heard it right.
Okay, it's been amended to $15,000.
Order says that council has to vote on the amendment motion, and if that vote passes, it can't just be amended by councilor and then have them follow. That's what I'm reading. That's finally voted on. That's just what I'm reading here. I don't know.
Good point. Good point. Thank you.
When we take the final vote, that's when we
No,
Let's
this
go
is, you
back.
have to vote. No, we'll vote on the amendment. Each one.
Okay, each
We
one.
voted on the amendments. We've not voted on.
All right,
Okay.
so. Fire station amendment vote down to 15,000. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we'll vote on the motion of 15,000.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Just that the fire station budget in 2021 was 11,000. You're talking about increasing it $4,000 over a 5-year period. So it's less than $1,000 each, and that comes out to a decrease of over what's just been recommended of what the over the last year's budget of 97.9%. Oh, I'm sorry, you said 15. I'm sorry. Let me change that. 78.5%, a 78.5% decrease in the budget from last year.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion, move to approve the utilities and municipal services budget in the amount of 517,590.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0.
Can we go back and do the votes on the other amendments?
Okay.
Suggested motion, move to approve the public works budget in the amount of $1,288,048.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I submit a motion to amend and strike the 1.288048 and replace it with 90,507.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
That amendment's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? 4-3. Now we'll vote on the budget itself of $1,090,507. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion, move to approve the transfer station budget in the amount of $587,690.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Suggested motion, move to approve the landfill budget in the amount of $1,500.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Suggested motion, move to approve the social services / general assistance budget in the amount of $26,975.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I submit a motion to amend striking the 26,975 and replacing that with 15,000.
Second.
Amendment's been made and seconded. Discussion on the amendment itself.
I just would like to point out that this amendment is going to, or this budget line
is going to, in many times, serve this very people who you say you're trying to help, and you just cut it. Or you're cutting it. Okay, so we're just voting on the amendment right now. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Now we'll vote on the actual motion for 15,000. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
this line item, ever since I've been on the council the first time, it's always been, I think, 14,000. And I understand what Councilor Street's saying, but at the end of the day, this just proves how hard people are having it. You know, they need help because a lot of times they make choices not to pay the taxes or pay the taxes and can't eat, so or pay the fuel. So, you know, I understand where Councilor Street's coming from, but at the end of the day, this also proves the point what I've been saying. So
oh, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. And we're gonna have a 10-minute recess. Suggested motion, move to approve the cemetery, parks and recreation budget in the amount of $315,700. In the amount of $315,718. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, submit a motion to amend, striking 315,718 and replacing that with 275,000.
Motion's been made and seconded on an amendment to 275. Any discussion? Oh.
Before this is voted on, since it's been going 4-3 every vote. I want a couple of you that seem to side with other sides of this town to know what you're going to cut. You vote for David Ireland's proposal, I'm cutting that cemetery maintenance budget. That means if I run out of stuff to repair stone, it's done. If a water main breaks, no water for cemeteries. The veteran flags that we reimbursed the American Legion for, no more. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. With all due respect, read state statute.
That's not a point of order.
I'm,
Yeah, well, just let him finish.
okay, thank you. Because that's what it is, that's the budget line, that comes out of drug treatments. We will not be able to afford that either. That means cemeteries will start turning brown and having dead spots. And then people will complain about grass, but what I'm going to do, talk to your council. Yeah. Thank you.
I do want to, I know what, one thing Sheldon was gonna say is that we are required by state law to provide those flags.
Yeah, we got some, we'll reuse.
Take out at the end of the winter and put in the.
Flags cannot be faded, they cannot be padded, they cannot be touching the ground. And all the footstones and the headstone, it's sad to think that they do it for all the stone, but when veterans need the state statute, footstones cannot be 2-3 inches in the ground, grass has to be a certain height, the debris has to be picked up. And when, if I was to buy a plot and I paid for perpetual care, that perpetual care that I pay for is for maintenance and service. So don't threaten me for this council. I'm not threatening nothing. It sounded like that.
We're not gonna get them back here.
If I may. I just think I would love to hear you have that much passion for the kids who have needs of recreation in this town.
So we're just voting on the amendment. At 275,000. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Now we'll vote on the motion itself of 275,000. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion, move to approve the library budget in the amount of $192,786.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Is that here? 7-0. Suggested motion, move to approve the personnel budget in the amount of $2,198,891.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Suggested motion move to approve the airport budget in the amount of $88,452.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to amend and strike the 88,452 and replace that with 80,000.
Second that motion, Kevin.
80.
80.
80.
Okay, so we gotta vote on the amendment first of 80,000. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Now we'll vote on the airport budget itself in the amount of 80,000. Discussion on this one. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Suggested motion move to approve the debt service budget in the amount of $268,628.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Suggested motion move to approve the capital improvement budget in the amount of $1,101,807.
So moved.
Mr. Chair,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to amend, striking the 1,801,807, replacing that with 875,000.
Second.
It's been amended to and seconded. 875. Do we have any discussion on the amendment vote?
It seems to me that one of the things you all have been saying is that we need to be fiscally responsible. And we have $175,000 money that we are talking about trying to put towards buying a new fire engine. And if we don't put this money out there, it's going to hit us in the future. And who knows how far off in the future it is. We need to be doing that every year. And it just doesn't sound fiscally responsible to me to remove that from the budget.
Okay, any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Now we'll vote on the motion itself for 875,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Item 3.
Before you move forward with that new information, we were amending, but then we weren't voting on the amendment.
Right.
Are you gonna go back and do that for the ones that we missed before we move forward?
Do we need to do them one by one or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the amendment vote.
Right, because we amended it. Now I think we just have to take the actual vote on it now that that's been clarified.
If you want to start, tell you what we left off. The last one the first one that we did. For the actual vote is this one. Put it on page 10.
That's where we started. So
So we've only got 2 to do
on this page.
right. Then just on the front.
Okay, so we've got to go back and vote on the amendments for the ones that we did not. So the town clerk budget amendment was down to 250,000.
You have to do the town managers also. Started there, that was amended. And we only took an amendment vote, a forward break, but we didn't actually, they voted to amend, but didn't actually take a vote.
What's that?
The town manager's budget.
Yeah.
Oh, you said town clerk.
Yeah. And I use the town clerk figure, correct? 250,000?
Yep.
Okay, I'll get to the town manager.
That works.
All those in favor of the amendment of 250,000 to the clerk's budget? Opposed? 4-3 on the amendment.
No, that's, should be about, we already voted that.
No, we voted on the final.
What's up?
No, on all of these votes were only for the amendment.
Those are only for the amendments.
So we're
Right,
going
until we got down to
I know where we left off. I just,
like where were we?
we started on the third one. On the second page. Given the full vote.
so we're doing the full vote, is that what it is?
Yeah, up to the fire station.
Okay, so town manager's budget of 185,000.
Right.
All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Finance budget 368,500. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. The assessing budget, 10,000. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Police department budget, 1,230,210. All those in favor? 4-3. And fire and EMA budget. 2,087. No, wait, 1,760. 1,670,246.
Nope. That's right. It's 1,670,246.
That's exactly what I said.
Said 700.
He changed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. All right. Now we're caught up. Ruth? Have you been keeping track of total numbers? Yep. Okay, so what would be the 2027 municipal budget?
With the reductions that you just voted in, we change that tip by the 152,173. Bruce, can you say that again? 1,152,173.
Thank you.
Okay, so a suggested motion, move to approve the 2027 fiscal year municipal budget in the amount of 9,906,659.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Item 4, approval of fiscal year 2027 revenue budget. Move to approve the fiscal year 2027 revenue budget in the amount of 5,133,761.
Yeah, make a motion.
No, second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
A question. Did cutting the various departments we have an impact on this revenue budget?
I don't think we know that yet.
Because we're making a budget, if that includes things like EMS, we've got, it seems like this is probably an exaggerated budget if they're included.
Any other discussion? Well, motions were made and seconded. I agree with Gordon. I don't know how we can vote on that, not knowing the outcome of several factors, but all those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Item 5, approval of 5-year capital plan. Suggested motion move to approve the 5-year capital plan.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-3. Item 6, approval of fiscal year 2027 TIF budget. Move to approve the total estimated TIF budget in the amount of $1,152,173. Is that correct? Okay.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I think it's on.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I sent an email earlier this morning with several, actually, on Saturday. With several questions regarding the TIF budget. And I'm still waiting to get the details of answers. And in the meantime, I would make a motion to amend the table list. TIF budget for the time being.
I second that, Mr. Chairman. I concur. I mean, for years, we've asked for strict accounting and going back to the council with no prevail. So that's why I'm seconding this motion until we get an exact figure on what's coming in from any TIF district and what money's going out and what money finance. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that's my fault. Ruth got me the information. I did not get that to David today. He did send that over the weekend. I saw it this morning. She did get it back to me. But I just, with everything, all the meetings, I just did not have time to get it out before I left to come over here. So that was on me. She did get the information.
Mr. Chair, I didn't expect the answers to come forth today. Even if I did get the answers today, I still want to review it. So my motion to amend it, it's still standing.
Point of order. If we do not vote on the TIF budget, can we vote on the rest of what's down below?
We've got nothing left.
No, there's nothing left. We're not setting the,
We can, if we table this, that has no effect on the budget itself, correct?
So your decision to table this doesn't affect the TIP budget at all, because that is basically not accurate and a true figure until you set the bill rate and basically. So, no, It's not going to have any ramifications. We're going to vote on this.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the table. To table. Any discussion on voting on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? 6-1. Item number 7.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was just on the amendment. Sorry about that. So now we vote on the amendment, which is to table. That's what I said before. To table.
Right.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Now, item number 7. Motion been made, seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 7-0. You were for, okay. It's gonna say too bad.
I'm gonna wait for.